Yeah. Who wants to hear a story? I know I do. Hey you, sitting there with nothing to do, why don't you come over here and maybe try something new? Yes you, don't waste your time just planting your seeds. Let's partake in FlameAmigo619 reads. You gotta pick, he'll read ya, hilarity he'll feed ya, or maybe deep emotions, whatever the feeling doesn't matter. Either solo or with friends, we're going on a trip to faraway places, or maybe not, just take a tip from me. He does have some standards, they're not far-fetched, it's a stretch, so keep that in mind, don't be a bitch. So kick up your feet, find something comfy to sit in, and enjoy the show. Now let us begin.
I love WWE. I don't even care that it's fake. I collect the DVDs, magazines, and especially the books. Today in episode 26 of FlameAmigo619 Reads, I'm going to be reading from a book called WWE Showdowns, the 20 Greatest Wrestling Rivalries of the Last 2 Decades. A long time ago I started reading some chapters from this, but let's face it, nobody watched back then. At least I think, I don't know. So now I'll use this little podcast to read some chapters for it. If you're a WWE fan, you're in for a treat. If not, have a listen anyway. Put in the comments if you want me to read more from this book, and you can decide which chapters I should read next. So let's take it away with Chapter 7, Undertaker vs. Kane. Oh, how I love the number 7. Hell hath no fury like Undertaker, the 6'10.5" dead man, who has haunted WWE wrestling arenas since 1990. Perhaps best known for his undefeated streak at WrestleMania, Undertaker has been one of the most popular and dominating figures since his arrival on the scene. But if one man could meet the Soul Destroyer on somewhat even terms, it was his brother, Kane. And whatever your opinion on brotherly love is, this series appealed to anyone who liked fire and lightning and lots of it. Undertaker came to World Wrestling Federation in 1990 as a member of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Team. First known as Kane the Undertaker, his role in the company quickly expanded. At WrestleMania 7 in 1991, he defeated Jimmy Superfly Snuka with the trademark Tombstone Piledriver. The match lasted barely 4 minutes, but it initiated a storied and unmatched string of victories at wrestling's annual event. Undertaker was injured in 1993 and had to take time off from professional wrestling. At WrestleMania in 1994, another Undertaker was introduced to the crowd, but was quickly denounced as Underfaker. The real Undertaker returned, reclaiming sole, no pun intended, possession of the character in a face-off at the year's SummerSlam. From that point on, his character grew in popularity. In October 1997, a new phenom exploded onto the scene, Kane, Undertaker's younger brother. At 7 feet 325 pounds, Kane was a big hit, in more ways than one. One other person played a key role in the showdown, Paul Bearer. He had been Undertaker's manager and sidekick practically from the moment he made his debut. Now he became Undertaker's nemesis, and was arguably more dangerous than any of the men Undertaker had met in the ring. Paul Bearer laid the groundwork for the clash over a series of weeks at the end of 1997, appearing on a number of Raw episodes and announcing with great portentousness that he was about to rock Undertaker's undead world. At the time, Undertaker was busy pursuing Shawn Michaels for a championship title. Michaels, aided by D-Generation X, was at the top of the company's wrestling hierarchy, holding the championship title and enjoying enormous popularity with the crowd. Michaels and Undertaker met in a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood in October 1997, just in time for Halloween. Hell in a Cell matches are a more refined and, according to many, more dangerous version of steel cage matches. The addition of a top confines the wrestlers to the ring, and, in theory at least, there's no way to win the match by disqualification. Undertaker devised the cell after his attempts to seek satisfaction with Michaels were foiled by run-ins by Michaels' allies. Even though both wrestlers tangled outside of the cage, Undertaker's strategy worked, and he toppled Michaels at the end of a brutal match, flattening him with a steel chair. Just as he was about to press the unconscious Michaels' shoulders to the mat for the pin, the lights in the arena went out. Paul Bearer emerged from the backstage area, escorting a masked friend, Kane. Kane ripped the door from the cage and confronted a stunned Undertaker. For probably the first time in his career, Undertaker found himself looking up to another wrestler. Though they're both billed at 7 feet, Kane appeared taller in this match. Mimicking Undertaker's own trademark move, Kane threw his arms down, conjuring flames from torches at the corners of the ring. He then applied a tombstone piledriver to the still unbelieving Undertaker. Shawn Michaels is able to crawl forward and throw his nearly lifeless arm over his opponent for the win, but the fans' real interest was clearly going to be the brother versus brother storyline. The piledriver initiated bitter feelings over the next few months, and in many ways over the next several years, since the storyline has been revived numerous times in different ways. Kane didn't speak in the early going, leaving Paul Bearer to lay out the story. According to the manager turned enemy, Undertaker's parents had died in a tragic fire. Kane, Undertaker's half-brother, according to Paul Bearer, had been horribly burned in the same fire but managed to survive. The mask he wore hid his scars. His preoccupation with fire was a natural outgrowth of his childhood experience. Undertaker had never hidden the fact that the fire had killed his parents, but he had never acknowledged setting it. According to Paul Bearer, Undertaker had blamed his baby brother Kane. The secret was so hideous that many fans refused to believe it. Paul Bearer would have eventually claimed to have nursed Kane back to health, though as the story developed, he kept his reason for doing so to himself. Despite provocations, Undertaker steadily refused to wrestle Kane. He was unwilling to risk harming his brother again. From the moment of his debut, Kane rocketed to popularity even before he actually wrestled anyone. He spent several weeks attacking different wrestlers until finally he fought at the November pay-per-view Survivor Series, facing Mankind and beating him. Still, the fight everyone wanted to see was between the two brothers. That looked as if it would never come off. As the two men reconciled, or appeared to, Kane began backing his brother at matches, possibly, the crowd thought, because of Undertaker's principled stance against harming him. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker prepared for a rematch at the 1998 Royal Rumble. Once again, a unique format was invented just for their confrontation, a casket match. In order to win, a wrestler had to throw his opponent into the casket and close the lid on him. Despite some underhanded tricks by Michaels, Undertaker dominated him into the middle of the match, until a piledriver by Michaels outside the ring left Undertaker vulnerable to a run-in by DX. Michaels was able to roll Undertaker into the casket, seemingly clinching the victory. For the undead, caskets are veritable fountains of youth. As soon as he touched the coffin's cushioned lining, Undertaker revived. Back in the ring, Michaels once more got the upper hand, but the match depended on him depositing Undertaker in the casket, and once more Undertaker regained energy there. The match seemed nearly over as Undertaker took control and dumped Michaels into the coffin. Before he could slam the lid, a half-dozen wrestlers appeared and began stomping him. The lights went out with Undertaker on the canvas. Kane appeared, rising from the back, or perhaps the jaws of hell. He exorcised DX from the ring. Within seconds, only the two brothers were left in the ring. With Michaels slinking away in the background, Kane began smacking Undertaker around to the boos of the crowd. A chokeslam sent Undertaker into the casket and gave Michaels the victory, but the worst was still to come. Kane and Paul Bearer locked the casket, then wheeled it away from the ring and down the runway. Kane retrieved an axe. It took nearly a dozen smacks of the axe to punch through the top. Paul Bearer came out with a jug of gasoline. In seconds, the coffin was ablaze. He who was undead was dead again. Undertaker vanished and appeared as if he really was dead and buried, if not forgotten. Michaels, meanwhile, dropped his title to Steve Austin and took time off to heal from his injuries, though not before he spoofed Undertaker's return on Raw, dressing as the dead man and then throwing off his disguise in the ring to the hoots and howls of the crowd. A week or two later, the real Undertaker returned. Summoned by the peal of Undertaker's trademark bells, a lightning bolt struck his coffin, and the dead man was free to once more walk the earth. The only walking he wanted to do now was over his brother's grave, but of course the fight couldn't take place without a bit more build-up. Paul Bearer and Kane continued to torment Undertaker, digging up his father and mother's coffins, desecrating their graves as well as their memory. In March, the brothers faced off at WrestleMania 14 with a pyrotechnic show that still tanks as one of the most impressive indoor displays ever. Led by his druids from the underworld, Undertaker strode slowly to the ring, his samurai-like cape designating him the high priest of immortal fiends. Kane, looking a bit nervous, met his brother in the ring. As the match started, they exchanged a series of punches and fist slaps. Encouraged when Undertaker's onslaught failed to move him, Kane mounted a vicious attack, managing to hoist Undertaker upside down on the turnbuckle and inflict as much punishment on him as he would for any of his other opponents. The fight moved out of the ring, where Paul Bearer was able to get in his own cheap shots, helping Kane dominate. A sizable portion of the audience was behind Kane, and it seemed as if The Undertaker would actually lose his first WrestleMania. An exhausted Undertaker tried mounting a comeback and managed to drop Kane from the ring. Gathering his strength, he leaped out at him and missed, cratering one of the commentators' tables instead. Kane flew to the advantage as the fight resumed between the ropes. He appeared to beat Undertaker with a pin, at least by Paul Bearer's quick count. As the ref waved off the accomplice's count, saying Undertaker had kicked out at 2, the combatants began a series of moves that saw Undertaker give his brother 3 different piledrivers before the last one took Kane's breath away. It led to a pin and a victory for Undertaker. Paul Bearer wasn't content to let things rest there. He entered the ring, trying to pummel the weakened dead man whom he had once managed. Undertaker still had enough fight to flatten him, but it was Kane who had the last laugh and arguably the most devastating hit in the contest. With his brother preoccupied, he grabbed the chair Paul Bearer had brought into the ring and laid Undertaker out on the canvas. Then he hobbled away in silence. The crowd had turned back in Undertaker's favor, turned off by Kane's treachery. Topping the epic contest would not be so easy. but with fans eager for more, a rematch was inevitable. The following week, the pair fought at Mayhem in Manchester, a United Kingdom pay-per-view. Undertaker was wearing street clothes, unusual for him at the time. Undertaker won the match with a pin. The match was broadcast only in the United Kingdom, and audiences in the United States and elsewhere had to wait until In Your House Unforgiven, held in St. Louis at the end of April 1998. Once more, Undertaker was involved in a unique style match. The ring was surrounded by a wall of fire. To win, a wrestler had to set his opponent on fire. Since that was the only criterion for victory and anything you could do to your opponent was illegal, there was no ref inside with the wrestlers. For much of the match, the 20,000 people attending were silent, clearly awed by the flames and the inherent danger. Even Kane seemed to be taken aback when, after Undertaker climbed onto the top rope near the beginning of the match, the flames shot up several feet. The action was slow early on, but began heating up, literally and figuratively, after Undertaker tossed Kane over the flames and out of the ring. Apparently having had enough, Kane began to retreat towards the locker room. Paul Bearer ran to the flame control and jacked it so high that Undertaker couldn't get out of the ring to follow. Then Kane's escape was cut off by Vader, who would later ally with Undertaker as a tag team partner. Undertaker gathered himself and leaped over the flames, then ran and knocked out his brother. With Kane down, he chased Paul Bearer into the audience. It was a slow-motion chase, finally cornering him on the band stage. He crowned his tormentor with a drum, then returned to settle the score with his brother. Both wrestlers were still outside the ring. Undertaker was able to win by holding Kane's hand in the fire. Kane ran from the arena, vanquished. The storyline took a new turn the next night at Raw when an inadvertent airing of a backstage conversation revealed that Paul Bearer was Kane's father. That was bad enough, but once the secret was out, Paul Bearer told Undertaker that his mother was nothing but a two-bit whore. Undertaker vented his feelings rather physically on both Bearer and Kane over the next few weeks. After Kane beat Undertaker on Raw, June 1st, 1998, the feud between the brothers mutated into new forms, as longtime Undertaker nemesis Stone Cold Steve Austin worked into a story with and against Undertaker. When the pair were forced to work together as tag team allies, Undertaker's loyalties were questioned as blood triumphed over water. Or more accurately, given Austin was involved, beer. On July, at In Your House 23, Stone Cold steamed with Undertaker to take on Kane and Mankind. The Uneasy Alliance, at one point Undertaker gave Austin the finger rather than going for the pin on his brother, brought them the tag team titles, though of course the alliance was suitably short-lived. The Kane-Undertaker story has seen several reincarnations, with the brothers working together and then falling apart. One of the most notable installments revolved around WrestleMania 20. Undertaker and Mr. McMahon squared off in a Buried Alive match at Survivor Series in the fall of 2003. Thanks to a run-in by Kane, McMahon won and buried Undertaker. For some time it seemed as if Undertaker was gone for good, as he disappeared from the weekly show. But then dreams of his brother began haunting Kane. He lost focus and control in his matches as the episodes continued. His brother was calling for revenge from beyond the grave. Kane was never one to scare easily. At WrestleMania 20 in March 2004, he reverted to character, screaming at the audience that he had killed his brother because he became one of you. Then a bong began to ring through Madison Square Garden. Unexpectedly, Paul Bearer had returned to Undertaker's corner, and he led him and his torch-carrying escort back to the ring for the match. Few wrestlers alive or dead were as over with the crowd as Undertaker was that night. The chance for Undertaker probably woke up half of the corpses in New Jersey cemeteries across the river as the fans showed who their favorite was. Undertaker won with the Tombstone Piledriver, still his signature finish, then gave the crowd the evil eye, as undead as ever. And sadly, that's where the chapter ends. Kind of abrupt, but hey, what can you do? I hope you liked this, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, swag, all that good business, and all that good stuff. I will see you guys for the next episode. Laters.